Today, indeed, is a special day. Today, we are celebrating heroes whose courage, more than 70 years ago, helped defend and preserve the independence of France and save our common values: freedom, tolerance, and democracy. Before I go any further, I would like to extend this tribute to all your fellow soldiers who did not make it back to the US. They played a decisive role in the liberation of France. In France, there are many white crosses where lie some of your comrades that did not return. Know that their memory is cherished by all the people of France. The sacrifice made by you and your comrade is not forgotten and was not in vain. Gentlemen, you are able to wedge your shoulders against the wheel of history and turn it towards the right path and the right direction. You did all this far away from your home, your family, and your friends. You saved people in France and in Europe, people you did not even know. I'm here to tell you that the people of France have not forgotten. I'm here to tell you that their children, like myself, have not forgotten. I'm here to tell you that their grandchildren, like my son, have not forgotten. The French people and France will never forget. We know exactly what we owe to you personally, gentlemen. We know exactly what we will owe to the American people, the US Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guards, and all the men and women who work the days and nights in factories and shipyards to help build the most powerful military force in history. General Eisenhower once said, "The eyes of the world are upon you. The hopes and prayers of liberty-loving people everywhere march with you." All of you were ordinary men asked to do extraordinary things. Thanks to you and thanks to America, people of my generation and future generations are allowed to grow up in a free country. It is almost impossible for us to imagine how much courage and bravery it must have required to cross an ocean and to fight in Europe. Courage and bravery are precisely the qualities that Napoleon wanted to reward while creating the Legion of Honor, La Légion d'honneur, in 1802. Your courage, gentlemen, and your bravery is precisely what the French president wants to reward today and has decided to award you France's highest honor. As decided by the President of the French Republic, I will now bestow the Legion of Honor upon you. Now, this is the part where I'm going to speak French.
In 1943, at the age of 20, he joined the armed services and he served in the 9th Army Air Force 492nd Fighter Squadron, 48th Fighter Group as a sergeant and airplane armorer for P-47 Thunderbolt aircrafts. John arrived in Longueville, Normandy, France on D-Day to assist setting up one of the first airfields for the P-47 Thunderbolt fighters. The operations at S4 Field in Longueville helped the Allied forces break through the German lines at Saint-Lô, and in July 1944, the 48th Fighter Group continued to move their airfield to Le Mans, then to Paris, and to Cambrai, as they drove the Germans east in a matter of months. They continued airfields in Belgium and Germany until victory was accomplished. John's duties were to ensure that the weapons on the P-47 Thunderbolt aircraft worked every time on every single mission. He states, quote, "I am very proud of my crew, for we never had a weapon malfunction," unquote. John returned to Boston, where he married Alice Kenny, with whom he raised 3 children. He worked with the state of Massachusetts Department of Transportation as head highway traffic inspector until his retirement in 1985. He then retired in Florida until relocating to Hawaii over 3 years ago to live with his son Tom and daughter-in-law Jamie, who are here with us today. John is 92 years old and has received numerous medals and citations from the US and Belgium. We're honored to present him today with the French Légion d'honneur.
Mr. John Anusewicz, au nom du président de la République de France, je vous nomme chevalier de la Légion d'honneur.
Will I accept this honor for this incredible, First, I want to thank him for the incredible honor. Second, I want to accept this on behalf of my fellow airmen that are no longer with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I thank the French government, the French Consul, and of course, the staff of 15 Craigside. Thank you so much for presenting this award for us. And I always would like to thank whoever in the back of us as a support group. And thank you so much. And aloha. Thank you.
Henry Sadami Ishida, at 94 years old, is our senior veteran here today. Henry grew up on the Waialua sugar plantation, graduated from Waialua High School, and then worked as a firefighter at the Waialua Fire Station. After the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, Henry volunteered to join the Army as part of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. He was assigned to the 522nd Field Artillery Battalion and trained at Camp Shelby in Mississippi. Henry's 522nd Battalion entered France in Marseille in September of 1944. They traveled to the Vosges Mountains and in October began to take the town of Bruyères back from the Germans. After extensive casualties, they successfully liberated Bruyères. Their next battle was near Bifontaine, where they were sent to rescue the lost battalion from Texas. Our Hawaii boys had to fight the cold and snowy elements as well as the enemy. This is where Henry got trench feet, which still affects him today. The 442nd suffered heavy losses, and after they rescued the Texas battalion, Henry was named an official Texan in gratitude for his battalion's efforts during the battle. The 522nd Battalion was also involved in the liberation of prisoners from the concentration camp in Dachau. And I think Pierre Moulin, who spoke with you just recently, wrote a book on that. After the war, Henry returned to Hawaii, where his best friend from the 522nd introduced him to his sister Doris. Henry and Doris were married for 65 years until Doris passed away last year. Henry worked as a draftsman at Fort Shafter until his retirement, and his daughter Lori and granddaughter Alyssa are here with us today. Henry has also received a Congressional Gold Medal as a member of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Henry?
Mr. Henry Ichida, au nom du président de la République, je vous nomme chevalier de la Légion d'honneur.
What his daughter said is that he has fond memories of Bruyère. Lieutenant Colonel Dan Austin is the former commander of the 100th Battalion, 442nd Infantry Regiment, and is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves. He's an inspirational speaker, but more than that, he has an enduring commitment to the legacy of our World War II veterans. Dan?
Thank you, Pat. Gentlemen, thank you for your example. Mr. John Anusewicz, I hope I said that with a good Polish accent. And Mr. Sueo Fujii, also known as Sam, and Mr. Henry Ishida, also known when he was in France as Henri, I'm sure. It's a great honor to say a few words about why we love you so much. Last week I was in Texas. I am, by the way, a card-carrying Texan. That's where I was raised. That gave me license to tell tall stories. But I was in Austin, and I visited the 36th Division Museum. Imagine my surprise, there's a story in the 36th Division of 2 lost battalion. In 1940, their artillery battalion, was a National Guard unit, was mobilized and sent to the Philippines. Well, they never made it. The war started before they got to the Philippines, and so they were diverted to Indonesia, where they fought and were captured, and where nothing was heard from them for 3 years. That's why they were called the Lost Battalion. Of course, our Lost Battalion, the one we're familiar with, was of a group of Texans that were surrounded in France and they were ready to be taken prisoner. They were almost out of ammunition, and they had nothing left to fight with. Reading their story, they knew it was almost over. Now, interestingly, P-47 aircraft also come into play here. The P-47 was the equivalent of today's A-10 Thunderbolt. Close air support aircraft, very tough, lots of machine guns, lots of bombs, and they would fly real close to the enemy to be able to make their, to be effective. And of course, a lot of them were shot down. Well, the P-47, there was a group, it wasn't Mr. Anusewicz, but there was a group that were tasked with modifying their fuel tanks to drop food, medicine, and radio batteries to that lost battalion. And at the museum, they have a couple of those modified fuel tanks from the battlefield that FedEx sent back to the museum free of charge, just taken off the battlefield. And you know, all the historians and the war buffs get together, and we want to preserve these things. It is a way of honoring those who've gone before. I do want to tell you one story about this.
Thank you.